Are you looking to grow revenues, increase profitability, or obtain financing? If so, you came to the right place.
Running a business is all about leadership. How do you become a better leader? Learn from the successful entrepreneurs and business owners how to lead your organization more effectively. That's why we created Leadership Live at 805, Talking Small Business, to help you succeed with your host, Andrew Frazier, Business Growth Pro and CFO and founder of the Small Business Pro University. Every Tuesday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern, we're joined by experienced entrepreneurs and business owners who share their secrets to success via live stream. Also, every Friday morning, we release a new podcast episode. Either way, you will learn about developing your business leadership skills from our roster of highly performing guest experts. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.
Good evening. Welcome back to Leadership Live at 805. I'm your host, Andrew Frazier, and excited about hanging out with you once again. Tonight, like every night, we have a tremendous guest, and we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, and it's something that is key. You know, as a business owner, I always ask people, what is your most important job? And it's important to know that, because how are you going to do the best job with your business if you don't know what you should be focusing on? So first and foremost, as a business owner, it's important to focus on sales and marketing, growing your business, creating business, bringing in revenues. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight is, really how you can bring in revenues in new ways and increasingly. My guest, Terry Trayvick, he's done some great things. He's continuing to do some great things, and excited about being able to chat with him this evening. Not only that, Terry's actually going to be the speaker at our upcoming Power Breakfast on October 27th. So you're going to hear a little bit from him tonight, but you can come hear more from him and actually meet him in person. So hopefully you're able to join us as well. I'll just play a quick intro, then you're going to see him a little bit, and then I'll bring him on to chat with us tonight. So looking forward to it. Are you an entrepreneur or business owner? If so, you need to check out the Power Breakfast. The Power Breakfast is New Jersey's premier business networking event for entrepreneurs. The Power Breakfast is a unique forum for learning best practices, enjoying great networking, and gaining useful knowledge. Over the past 10 years, we have hosted more than 1,500 attendees who have directly benefited with revenue growth and financing. Join me at the next Power Breakfast event on October 27th at the Glen Ridge Country Club. The featured guest speaker is Terry Trayvick, who will be talking about creating the ultimate business strategy.
At one point in my life, I was the global president for a financial services company. And in 3 years, we improved our profits by over $80 million. And then as a consultant, there's an example of a company I helped in Texas that was about an $8 million company 10 years ago. And organically, I've shown them and helped lead them to grow from an $8 million company to over $200 million today.
I look forward to seeing you at the Power Breakfast on October 27th. All right, good evening. So hopefully you can join us on the 27th. It's going to be a great time. And, we'll be talking with Terry. We're going to have a great panel and great networking as always. So hopefully you can join us. So tonight we're talking with Terry about really how to grow revenues. And he's got a pretty, system that he uses that really helps people to grow significantly. So, I'm going to bring Terry on and we'll get started. Hey, Terry, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Andrew. How about yourself?
I'm good. Welcome. Glad to have you here. as a guest, and look forward to chatting with you. Definitely welcome everybody else. We've got quite a few people checking in. Good evening,
See
Daryl.
Daryl, how you doing, Daryl?
Okay, Dr. K, Vanessa, Dr. Michelle, Scott, and Darrell. So, definitely keep the comments coming, and definitely as also if you have questions, feel free to ask the questions. That's what we're here for tonight. We want to make it as valuable experience for you as possible. So Terry, you've done a lot of great stuff. The video just said a couple highlights, but you've had a pretty interesting journey through your career from where you started to where you are now. Could you walk us through your journey a little bit?
Yeah, I hope this journey didn't make me sound too old, Andrew, but I'm looking forward to it. First and foremost, always my pleasure, Andrew, to join you and all the things you're doing to try to help entrepreneurs. You bring a great service to this community. But by way of background, extensive background in business. I can truly say almost 40 years now. General Motors out of college, in manufacturing, went back to business school, got my MBA in finance and marketing, joined Procter & Gamble for about 7 years, had a stint with Sara Lee, R.R. Donnelley. I left R.R. Donnelley in 2006 as the global president, had a series of financial roles there prior to becoming global president, and also ran strategy for the company for a while. Then I left and started my own consulting firm in 2006, helping small businesses learn how to grow their profits. And about 5 years ago, I started a small private equity firm where we provide capital to help businesses grow. So when you consolidate it all, what I do today is I help companies strategize, execute, and also provide them funding. Primarily focus on the new home builder market right now. I'm playing the role of CEO of a home building company down in Texas, in addition to what I do from a financial service. From a private equity standpoint. So wearing a lot of hats right now, just trying to leverage all of my background, but doing it from the comfort of my home, which is a great thing. So that's my background. Married 33 years, 3 grown adult children, living a happy life.
Very nice. Very nice. So you've definitely had a lot of great experience across the board in different areas of business, different companies, and that allows you to draw from it and really bring some great things together for your clients. So now we're talking about growing revenues. The pandemic's been challenging for businesses, but also challenges bring opportunities. From the pandemic standpoint, as a business owner, what are some things that we should be looking at or be thinking about in terms of, opportunities or things that we should be considering as ways to find new revenue streams or build upon our current revenue streams?
Yeah, that's a good question, Andrew. I'll start by, one of the things I've done in the past when I was in corporate America, I was sort of sent to businesses that needed to be turned around. And, every business wants to grow, but the most important thing you can do first is make sure that you fix your leaky bucket. I call it the leaky bucket concept. And, that's retaining the customers you have. It's hard to grow when every customer that you have is leaking through the bucket because of something like service or bad operations. So I always encourage people, before you start thinking about significantly growing the business, make sure the business that you currently have is you have good quality products, that you have great customer service, and that you eliminate the leaky bucket. I call it not giving customers a reason to leave. So think about your operations, think about your processes, your systems, your people before you try to grow the business. I'm by background, I'm a Christian. And, one of the things that I can tell you about God, I learned this probably about 15 years ago from a pastor. That is that God does not bless this organization. He can't. It gives him no glory. So the first thing you've got to do in your business is to really make sure that you're well organized, you have a well-oiled machine so that you can get rid of that leaky bucket and have a firm foundation by which you can grow from. So that's the first thing I would suggest. And then you grow from there. And basically, there's two ways from a product or from a market standpoint to grow your business. You can either take the current product to more people, or you could take your current people or your current customers and give them more products. So those are the two generic ways to grow, or you can do a combination of the two. As an example of a company that would take the current customers and give them more products, a company like Nike would be a good example of that. They started off with selling sneakers. And their customer was the weekend athlete. That's how they define their customer base. And they grew not only by having more sneaker brands or more sneaker, launches, but they also grew by taking that same weekend athlete as their customer and providing them with, golf clubs and apparel, different sports equipment, because they understood their customer, and they grew by just taking that same customer and bringing them more products. So same customer with more products. Another way to grow is same product and more customers. And a good example there is a company like Coca-Cola back years ago when their primary brand was the Coke. And the way they grew was by going, international. So they had one product that they focused on, and they took it to more and more customers. Now, none of those paths are necessarily right or wrong. It's about choosing that path and then putting the resources and the systems in place to be able to support it. So choosing a strategy, a growth path, and supporting it with the people, supporting it with the resources is critical, especially when you're small, because you can only do so much. So those are a couple of things that I'll point out, Andrew.
Okay. So, so definitely focusing is important, and having clarity and a strategy.
Yeah.
You talked about the leaky bucket, and actually, being a finance person, that also made me think about, there's a lot of businesses who sell a lot but don't have much in profitability. So that's something you also want to fix before
Right.
you try to grow too much. Because what good is it to be busy and not be making any money?
Yeah, we've all heard the saying that not to confuse activity with productivity. Sometimes we just run, but we're not productive because we really haven't built a productive mousetrap, one that's profitable, one that can be repeated, one that has good service, one that that's reliable, responsive, and things like that. And so it's hard to grow because the business the customers you've already sold aren't satisfied. So it's a constant, Band-Aids, fixing, plugging leaks. So focus really on getting a well-oiled machine and then take off. I remember at Procter & Gamble, one of the things that we used to do when it came to marketing, there's different ways you can get people to try your product, right? But we used to say, hey, if you didn't have repeat customers, one of the ways was to give something away as a trial. Let them try it.
Mm-hmm.
You never wanted to give your product away if your retention rate was bad, because they're not going to try it again, right? Because there's something wrong with the product. But once that product is right and is a well-oiled machine, or a great product that provides a benefit and a value to a customer, and then they buy it over and over again, then one of the quickest ways to grow is to let people try it, give it to them for free, because now you've got a lifetime customer with significant, customer value, lifetime customer value. So we would, give away a tube of Crest toothpaste because we knew we had a high repeat rate. So if we wanted to, get a new customer, we just, whether you gave it to, You put it in the hotel rooms or wherever you put it so that people can try it, because you knew that the retention rates were good. And then from a lifetime perspective, once they tried it, they would buy it over and over and over again. So you spend a few dollars, $5 to give it away for free in order to get $1,000 worth of lifetime benefit. But fixing and having the right product with the right service, with the right benefits and the right value, got to get that right first.
Okay. All right. So really you're talking about doing your homework. You don't just go out there and wing it and try and figure it out as you go. So
Yeah, your reputation gets out very, very quickly, right? Especially if it's a bad one. People, whether it's on, people on online, on Google or whatever it is, giving you, a 2-star out of 5, that reputation can be destroyed quickly. So you have to make sure everything's in working order. Invest the money where you need to create the right value for your customers. Otherwise, focusing on growth is sort of meaningless. It's not going to happen.
okay. So first things first, basically.
Correct.
So now,
And Andrew, I emphasize this because a lot of people want to skip that step.
mhm,
You have a lot of people who all of us start businesses with different skill sets. You have marketing people who are great marketers, but they may not be great process people. I'm not saying you can't do both, but being a great marketer is meaningless if you don't if the what you're marketing doesn't work, or if there's a failure point in it. If you're a marketer and you're a great marketer, get a consultant or someone that can help you on the product and operations side to make sure that the product is sound, and then use your skill sets to go out and market.
okay. And you make a great point. One of the things I say is, as a business owner, there's so many things you need to know that you can't possibly know them all.
Right.
And it's an evolution, but there are things that you don't know that can still hurt you.
Right.
So getting help is one of the key things, and then also getting the right kind of help. I think every business owner has had help that really hurt. So a lot of times people are shy about that. But if someone's looking for help, what are some key things that they should think about or ask if they're looking to possibly work with someone, and find out if they're likely to be able to help them?
As from a growth standpoint, or just in general, Andrew?
I think in general, because a lot of times people aren't used to hiring people, or bringing people in. A lot of times they bring the wrong people in and then don't really trust their instincts. So are there some rules of thumb or some things that people should take into account when they're thinking about hiring someone to come support them in what they're doing?
Yeah, whether it's hiring someone or just getting some advice, one of the things that I think successful business leaders do well is knowing what questions to ask. It's not necessarily having the answers yourself to all the questions, but knowing what questions to ask. Business is so complex. It's simple, but it's not necessarily easy because things are changing so much. But every business has financial issues. Every business has operating issues, quality issues, sales, marketing, finance, the R&D side of the business. There's so much to do. One of my thoughts are, if you have a small business, get yourself a small advisory team to start off. People with different functional backgrounds, friends and family members who may have unique skills. Have someone that can, help you think through the entirety of the business, not just the part that you may be good at. I've seen many great people who have established big companies, but they're not great business people. They are great at the idea that they have, but they don't know how to run and grow a company. And there's nothing wrong with that. The key is to know that you don't know how to do it and to go and get the help that you need. But I would start with having a group of advisors around me for free, people that you can get for free. And then when you need to get a little bit more sophisticated, you can go and get a consultant for the particular area that you're going for. My particular strength has always been strategy, and people hire me, bigger companies hire me to help them with strategy. But there are people like Andrew as well, who, has done a lot of strategy work. But I know, Andrew, I think you do a lot of stuff around, helping people with on their finance side as well. I think that's more of your core expertise, but strategy is something that you do well as well. But I would say, start with some advisors and then, get the help in the area where you need it. So if you go back to what I was saying earlier, if your operation is not fixed, I would start there and find someone with an operations background that can help you, fix the operation. And the way to know whether or not the operation is working well is putting the key metrics in place. What's your on-time delivery look like? What's your rejection rate or your quality rates look like? What's your cost per unit in your operation? And things like that. How profitable are you on a marginal basis per unit? Really understanding your financials and seeing whether or not you do have a business that can make money if you grow it. I remember when I was at Procter and Gamble, we had a business. Every unit we sold, we made less money. It was we were going to launch the Crest toothpaste, and when we did the analysis, it was like we were losing money every time we sold a toothbrush. A toothbrush. So we had to do some things to fix that before we really grew that business. But really understanding the profitability of the business is really important.
Okay, so yeah, you mentioned some key things. Asking the right questions, but you have to know something to be able to ask the right questions. So, as a business owner, you have to continually learn and develop.
Yeah.
You don't have to know the answers, but you need to know there needs to be answers to certain things so that you
Right.
can ask for them. Definitely you never ever want to bring someone in and not know what they're supposed to do.
To that point, Andrew, I mean, one of the questions can be, what should I be doing? Right. I mean, I don't know what I should be doing. I don't know what I'm missing. Right. And again, that's where, organizations like yours have been very helpful, to some of these entrepreneurs, is because you're giving them some of the fundamental tools that every business leader needs. But even after that, there may be things that they don't know, but it's okay to say, I don't know, and I need somebody to help me. A lot of my clients come to me with that mindset. Like, I know I want to grow. Like this home builder I'm helping, I've started helping in Texas back in 2008. He was very honest. He's like, I know how to build houses, but I don't know how to build a home building business. And he had an $8 million business, and we grew it to 275 million, and then grew 5 more companies off of that: a mortgage company, a title company, a land development company, a multifamily company, and an insurance company. Right. And this is all from him being honest about what he did know and didn't know. So I think what I love about the person's name I'm talking about is John. What I loved about John, he had a vision on what he wanted to do, but he was clear what he knew how to do and what he didn't know how to do. And he called on me to help him with that. And that's where, consultants can come in, or it doesn't have, whether it's a consultant or whoever. I think the key point I'm making is be honest with yourself on what you do know and what you don't know. There's nothing wrong with having a passion for something, whether you want to start a bakery or, a local bank or whatever it is. Have that passion, but be honest with yourself on what you know and what you don't know. There are people out there, professionals, who can help you, bridge the gap.
Okay, excellent. So you talked about all those different businesses. Can you talk about why you chose the different ones and how you went into the different businesses through that business as a way to grow?
You mean which one? The home builder?
Yeah, with the home builder, you built.
Yeah. So think about it. Remember what I said earlier. There's fundamentally two ways to grow. You can either have a set of customers and you can give them more product, or you can have a product and you can take it to more customers. Those are generic ways, right? I mean, there's some more nuances to it, but simply stated. So when I started helping the home builder, job number one was let's fix our processes first. Um, home building industry is notorious for people being disappointed. People don't trust them. People don't understand them, et cetera. So we had to do a lot of work around that. We had an initiative called Better Before Bigger. And we're going through that again right now, just trying to get better. But what we said was, all right, who's the customer? Well, the customer are people who are going to buy homes. Well, what else do they need? Well, they need a mortgage, right? So that's bringing them another product. We said, okay, if we're going to build houses, why don't we develop the land to build the houses on? That's another way to grow from where we are, right? Well, customers have to close the houses with a title company, so we started a title company. Customers need to buy insurance for their house, so we partner with a local insurance company, et cetera. So that's how we chose that. We chose a specific growth path, and our growth path was we first grew the general business, we fixed it, and then we started attaching other businesses and services to it in order to grow it. We had a captive audience. Why not give them more things to buy from us? And that was our approach. And by the way, that 275 million did not include all those other services. That's what we grew the home building company to. Right now, we're dealing with a market that's somewhat down, but at our peak a couple of years ago, we got to 275 million. Andrew, you're muted.
Yep. Okay, there we go. So with how you did that, you did like basically both horizontal and vertical integration, and
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
mean, we first said let's get better at what we do, right? And let's keep growing. Now, here's the other thing. I started my private equity firm so if you think about what I do, right? What I do personally, I do consulting. Well, I provided coaching and consulting to this home building company, but my strategy is we do strategy, we do execution, and then I added funding. We provide funding, right? So same customer, 3 different services. So I start off with a strategy. If you like the strategy and you don't know how to execute, you can hire us to help you execute, right? If we're helping you with strategy and execution, you don't have the money, you can hire us to raise capital for you, right? So same customer, 3 different services. I bring them more and more products, right? From thinking about the company that I run. So I said I'm CEO for this home building company because we will provide execution. If you don't know how to do it, we'll do it for you, right? So I run that company from here. I go down there once a month, but I basically run it from the same room I'm speaking to you guys from today. And then I started a private equity firm, went out and got some investors, raised $10 million to invest in that home builder.
Nice.
And helped him grow because he needed capital. So I had those 3 services I brought to him. Then we had, within that company, we created 5 different services. Now I'm raising money for my 4th fund, and we will do that with other home builders across the country. So that's what I'm talking about. When you figure out what your core competency is, which mine is more of, I know how to extract value from businesses, strategically, from execution, and from a funding standpoint. That's what I do well, right? I've done that throughout my career. So that's what I leverage into the marketplace. Same thing with you all. Find out what you do well, what you have passion about, and expand your business from there.
Okay. No, that's great. I always ask people, what do you do best and most profitably? Because nowadays it's so competitive that you got to focus on your strengths.
Right.
You can't be 4th best at something and expect to do well. So so you're taking what you know to other people, but also you're taking what you learned and expanding on it in different areas.
Yeah,
Uh, so
exactly. I mean, if it's going back, and I didn't talk a lot about my, so from a,
okay.
from my background, I'm sort of built for what I do, right? My undergrad was a combination of engineering and business, and we call it industrial management. You take a bunch of physics and calculus and science type courses, but then you also take accounting, finance, marketing, etc. And then in grad school, I got a marketing and finance degree. And then if I look at my personal background, I worked in a plant at General Motors. And then I worked in the offices at places like R. Donnelley, where we did a lot of financial stuff and did strategy for the company. And then all my career at P&G. When I combine all that together, I kind of know what my personal strengths are. And when I go help my clients, I'm not just talking theory. I'm talking to them about things that I've actually done myself, right? Because I've run a global, division at R. Donnelley. So that gives me the credibility to go in and help these companies. But I understand how finance works, and operations, so I can combine all that stuff together. I'm saying that not to talk about, me, but to say the point is I know my strengths, and that's what I focus on. Those who are on the call today, those who are listening, know your strength and figure out how you can expand that into different services, different markets, etc., to grow whatever the particular business you have going forward.
Okay. So yeah, definitely knowing your strengths. But what I've also found is many people don't really know their strengths. And it's helpful to ask people what they think your strengths are or what they see as your strengths. Similar to your customers. If you're
Yeah,
marketing, you may assume why they bought from you, but if you don't
yeah,
ask them, they may have bought from you for a totally different reason than you thought. But
yeah.
that, yeah,
And Andrew, when I say know your strength, for me, it's really my strength is my passion,
mhm,
right? I'm passionate about. I like business. I like problem solving more than anything. It's less business. It's more. I like to build stuff and solve problems. Um, so I really mean kind of know your passion, what it is you're really passionate about, and then how to turn that into profitability. Um, Andrew, I look at someone like you, Andrew, who you like to learn things. You like to you're well educated, and you like to teach, right? So you take something like that and you say, okay, that's my passion. I have small businesses pro university. You do books, you speak, you pull together these breakfasts. That's you just providing so many different services to this industry or to this segment that you're so passionate about, that you just constantly are thinking about ways to help the small business entrepreneur. So
yes,
that's your passion.
definitely. Going with the passion. Having been a small business owner, having worked with them, um, it's so important. It makes such a difference in their lives if we can help them to even just do twice as much in sales.
Right.
It makes a difference in so many ways. So I enjoy it, and definitely it's important to do that every day. Some days are not good, but other days are. So
Yeah.
just like with anything else.
Right.
But at the end of the day, as long as you're adding value for your clients, it's key.
Sure.
So, got like a little question from Jacqueline Finch Compass about, you know, she's not sure about her strengths, but enjoys sharing ideas. Can a capital entity be attracted to someone with ideas and take it to fruition?
Yeah, there are what they call venture capitalists out there, and what venture capitalists do is they invest in ideas. Ideas that they think can prosper. Obviously, you have to be passionate, as you said in your question. You have to be passionate about your idea, and pull together a plan that somewhat makes sense to the capital investor. My particular capital company right now, we focus primarily on U.S. residential real estate. So we don't fund ideas. We fund projects in the real estate industry.
Okay. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. But the other thing is, it's good to collaborate. Maybe you find someone else that you partner with who brings something else to the table. Especially in small business, you can't make it without collaborating with other people. I have partners that I work with, and we work together to help our clients and help each other. So definitely there's many different ways to reach the goal line.
Right.
And it's, even though many times it seems like it may be money, a lot of times money may not really be the answer that you need, at least at the time that you're looking for the money. So definitely want to keep that in mind. So I want to take a second to share a little bit about one of the key initiatives that I'm doing these days, and that's really the Small Business Pro Network. One of the key things as a business owner is to really create a ecosystem so that you have connections, access to resources, and other things. And that's really what the Small Business Pro Network is. So we'll take a minute, check out a short video, and then I'll be back talking small business with Terry Trayvick. Your business can only go as far as you're prepared to lead it. You need access to expert advice, important connections, and valuable resources to achieve your goals. What can we do to help? I created the Small Business Pro Network to help you to grow your business smarter, faster, and easier by meeting you where you are along your journey from startup to scaling. We will help you to accelerate your growth, maximize your profitability, and create a sustainable business that can run successfully without you. But how do we do this? As a member of the Small Business Pro Network, you'll have access to private, in-person, and online networking activities to build valuable relationships with important connections, expert advice and curated content to help you gain the knowledge you need to grow revenue and increase profit, and our proven proprietary Masterpreneur playbook and weekly action plans will guide you along the critical path for creating a sustainable business that can run without you. Where can you get all of this for less than $1 a day? Only at the Small Business Pro Network, www.sbpronetwork.com. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Okay, welcome back to Leadership Live. I'm here with Terry Trayvick, and we're talking small business. Today, we're focused on really being able to grow revenues, and there's a lot of different ways that you can do it. But Terry, we've talked before, and you shared sort of that to be successful and grow, you don't necessarily have to be the best at everything. Maybe even just one thing. So can you talk a little bit about, how you figure out where you should focus your energy as far as that?
Sure. Andrew, what you're talking about is what we call your competitive anchor. Where do you want to anchor yourself and create a competitive advantage versus your competitors? Basically there are 5 fundamental ways to compete. One is you can compete on being the lowest price provider. You can compete on you can compete on speed. You can compete on service. You can compete on quality. You can compete on innovation. And what Andrew is referring to is you have to be at relative parity across all 5 of those areas, but you need to pick one of the areas that you're going to choose to be distinctive versus your competitors. So for instance, when I was back in corporate years ago, we had chosen service as our our area of distinction. And the reason why, we did our homework and we saw that the industry we were in, people were satisfied with on-time delivery rates of about 85%. So about 85% of the time, on average, across the industry, not just us, but even the number one company was delivering at 85% of the time, on time, 85% of the time. So when we did our analysis, we said, hey, if we become really good at service, we can distinguish ourselves here. So we did that, and we put some initiatives in place, focused on making it easier for our customers to do business with us. And we started focusing on reliability, responsiveness, and things like that to improve our service. Disney did a study years ago that said I think they calculate there's about 100 touch points at the Disney park on average, whether it was with the, in the parking lot or the attendants when you come through the gates, people who take you on the rides, that there's on average 100 touch points that a customer would have. And if 99 of the touch points were perfect and there was one bad experience, then the person left the park thinking they had overall a bad experience. So we chose service, and we put Six Sigma and all kind of things in place to improve our service, to distinguish ourselves. And as a result, what happened to our business, when I took over the business, for every dollar our competitors had, we had about 63 cents. So we were significantly behind them in market share. And in about 3 years, and I only stayed with the business for about 3 years, for every dollar they had, we had 92 cents. So we significantly closed the gap. After I left, the guy who took my place continued the strategy. And a year or two later after I left, the company bought our company, or the company I used to work for, bought the company who was previously number one. But it was all because we chose to be distinctive in service. But then on those other 4 areas, we knew we had to be at least at parity. We couldn't afford to, within a range, right? We couldn't afford to be significantly behind in quality, significantly behind in speed, innovation, or price. But we had to choose one place where we were going to be significantly ahead. And we saw an opportunity where service would make a difference. And that's what we focused on.
Okay, so it makes sense. You said 5 different areas, and one of those areas I always tell small business owners, that's not where you want to focus, and that's on price, because as a small business, it's really difficult to focus on price.
And what's behind the price? What's really behind that is being the low cost provider. That gives you the ability to be able to compete on value, if you will, right? So, somebody like a Walmart versus, a Target, because they were a low cost provider, because they focused so much on getting their costs down, or Southwest Airline, so much on getting their costs down, then they were able to compete on price that nobody else could match. But if you think about Southwest, for a while, they were the only airline that was making money. They were focusing on getting costs down, and then they were hedging the fuel price and all that stuff. The point I'm making there is, when you know what your focus is, you align your entire organization to that. And because they were so focused on being the low cost provider, and their strategy, or their focus was, they wanted to be able to help people fly anywhere in the country cheaper than they could drive there. So that was fundamental to them, to get their costs down, so nobody could match their price. Because if they matched their price, everybody tried to match their price, they would lose money. Whereas Southwest, so it's a good point you're making, Andrew. You can only get your price down if your focus is lowest cost provider, right? And if you can separate yourself, like Walmart put great distribution systems in place that nobody could match in the day. Now Amazon has caught up and they're passing everybody. But so they probably have to change their strategy, or at least adjust it, or maybe there's enough room for both of them. I don't know.
So Yeah, so definitely, as a small business, you don't have economies of scale.
Right.
You got to be able to deliver at the lowest cost. So
Correct.
that's
And
key.
to your point, most small businesses don't have the economy of scales to do that.
Right, right. So that's why it's a difficult one. So you talked about competing on quality or on service. Um, many times, you're the way you compete. You don't really have to do anything too major to really be more competitive than some of your competitors. You know, um, sometimes it may just be making a little tweak somewhere.
Yeah.
So, when you compete on speed, do you have some examples of how companies do that, or what might be a good way to think about whether you should? That's an area that you may want to think about focusing on.
Yeah. Speed in general, going back to speed, sometimes you can use speed in order to get a premium price, right? You can you think about FedEx. FedEx used to say, hey, we'll get it to you by before the end of the day tomorrow, but they can charge a premium price if they get it to you by 10 tomorrow. You think about Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is to the point now where it used to be, hey, we'll get it to you tomorrow. I ordered something probably around this time a few weeks ago, and then we have the Ring camera on our front door, and I saw somebody delivering a package at like 2:30 in the morning to my house. So now they've got a speed advantage where you don't even have to feel like you have to go to the store. In fact, you can get it from Amazon faster. You can get it from the store because if I want something right now, I have a higher likelihood of having that on my doorstep before I wake up, as opposed to going to Target. I'd have to wait until 9 o'clock tomorrow or whatever time Target opens in order to get it. So Amazon is even faster in some cases than your local store. So they are competing on speed as well. So that's an example. In the home building business, we don't necessarily compete on speed, but the power of speed when it comes to profitability is important. You think about how long it takes to build a house. It can take 6 months to build a house. It can take 12 months to build a house. If it costs $300,000 to build that house and you're borrowing money from the bank at 9%, well, 6 months to build a house is going to cost you less in interest expense than if it takes you 12 months to build a house. So we have an initiative right now focused on turn times or build times, trying to build a house with the right quality, right service, but at a quicker speed so that we can get our interest expense down, which allows us to compete better on value if we have to, or we have to match our prices to be competitive. Well, we're better able to do that because we've taken some interest expense out of the equation. So speed can be a driver from a market go-to-market perspective, but speed is always important from a profitability perspective.
So yeah, so definitely, and we were talking just a little earlier because my water heater went down,
Right
and
now, you're getting charged a premium, right?
speed is kind of important to that. I could wait it out, but when I talk to my wife and kids, they're like, we need some hot water.
It's not happening, brother. Your wife will say you can go outside and sleep outside in the tent, but I want hot water one way or another. She's gonna
So
have hot water tonight.
yeah, so definitely speed makes a difference there. So
And companies understand that, right? Weekend premiums, 24, less than 24-hour premiums. So you can have a standard price, but you can have a speed price as well.
yep, and but one thing is many small business owners underprice. So also if you're focusing on this area, you got to price for it.
Yeah.
You got to charge for your value. So
Yeah. Well, we call it willingness to pay. So what are people willing to pay for what it is you're offering? To the point, to the price that you need it to be so that you make the profits you need. If
Yep.
they're not, it's probably not a good idea.
So, yeah. So, but don't be afraid to try and figure it out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So we got another question
Okay.
from Jacqueline. So, not sure if I understand this, but what are your thoughts on investing in companies like Arrived and Fintor? So I've never heard of either of them. But
Yeah, I must say I'm out of the game, Jacqueline, when it comes to those companies. Right? Can you give us a little bit more insight into what they are?
yeah, that would definitely be helpful. So, but yeah. So as she's doing that, so we talked about need. Um, you focused on service, and then innovation. What could that look like for a small business, and what are some examples of some businesses who are doing some great things on the innovation side?
Well, I mean, we always think about the big ones, right? The Apples of the world, and just probably these companies that Jacqueline's are asking us about that I've never heard of. But you're always getting that. But innovation doesn't necessarily mean technology. It could just be the different way of doing things relative to the competition, doing things that how you present things to customers, how you respond to customers. It can be a number of things. It just the whole creativity around your business in order to separate yourself, from someone else. I know a guy who used to work for me, who started his own business, and he innovated the concept of just in New York City. I forget exactly. I think it was called the Closet Butler or something like that, where he realized that people had small closets in New York City, and he would take their off-season clothes and pick it up just like a laundry service would do and store their winter clothes. And when the winter came, he would come pick up their summer clothes and give them their winter clothes. He made a business out of that because he recognized that people had small closets. So it doesn't have to be, an iPhone that you're creating. It's just innovative solutions for what you see around you, what you see around your customers in the business that you're in. How do you better serve them, or how do you create new businesses because you're observing the things around you?
Excellent, excellent. So we got a little clarity on the question. So let's take a look.
These are purchase real estate off for shares.
So these are companies purchasing real estate. So it almost looks like a private equity type of deal on real estate.
Yeah, the purchase real estate and offer shares probably can look at like 12% after they take 30. It sounds, when it comes to, I mean, first and foremost, I don't provide financial advice, but one thing I talk about, finance. Everybody has their own, risk reward tolerance. 12%, is a hefty return. Whether or not all that's guaranteed, whether it's, you trust their balance sheet, is it healthy? All those things are the things you would need to look at. And you got to say whether or not 12% makes sense for you in your overall portfolio relative to the risk that you're taking, given the size of the company and those sort of things. You also have to look at how the deals are structured, how they're making the real estate investment, how they structure their deals to protect you. There's just so many questions you have to ask when it comes to investments in the whole private equity world. So I don't have an opinion on them. I don't know them, but those are the kind of things that I would be investigating.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. Couple more quick questions. Dr. Michelle Scott's asking, how much are you focusing on sustainable certifications on the real estate side? I know that's something popular these days.
Yeah, I can't say I'm focusing a lot on that, but let me just tell you the backstory on this new fund that I'm starting. As I mentioned earlier, my wife and I are strong Christians. And one of the things God put on my heart was to start a fund where we would give our proceeds away. So when you do a fund, and you create profits for your investors. The investors keep 80% of it, and the way we make money is we get 20% of all profits we create. Well, what I'm doing with this fund, I'm certainly going to take a salary, but beyond that, I'm going to give anything out of that 20%. We're giving it all away to charitable organizations, specifically trying to advance the gospel. But not only that, helping other people as well. So we don't do sustainability unless we're saying we're trying to help sustain life and spread the good news.
Okay. Excellent. And then Darrell has a question. He's asking, based on your experience, what's the biggest flaw of the CEOs that you have to address?
Decision making was one of them that comes to mind. These smaller companies get to the point where everything runs through the CEO, all the decisions, all the ideas, etc. So one of the things I typically I'm typically helping people with is, at least the CEO, is you have to set up a culture where you're not the only person that knows everything. You've got to set up a culture where other people are starting to step up, come up with ideas, taking the reins and running with it. Because what I've seen from small company after small company is the CEO, they started it, it's their baby. They got an opinion about everything, which they should. And it's as simple as inviting other people in. I was talking to someone today and I was giving him some feedback. And one of the feedback I gave him was, he typically starts off by saying, what I want to do is this. And when you speak to your people that way, it shows strong leadership, but what it also does is closes the door for any other ideas. So I just coached him to say something simple to change that, which still gets his ideas across, but opens the doors. And I said, instead of saying, what I want to do is this, say, my thoughts are this. What are your thoughts? So now they know where you stand, where you'd like to go, but you've also given them the opportunity to, speak into the idea and make it even better. I've always told my employees, I don't have to be right, but we do. I'm going to always have an idea, but I'm going to always listen to make sure that we can come up with the best idea. So to answer your question, one of the big flaws is the CEO thinking they have to know everything and make every decision, and not making room for other people to help make the decision better.
Okay, no, that's a great point. I run into that a lot as well, and that's why I work with a lot of companies on their KPIs or key performance indicators, because your leaders have to know more about the business than just what they're doing if they're going to help you run it more successfully. So,
right.
You talked about sharing information, sharing knowledge. That's one way to incorporate that in. So yeah, I run into that a lot. I work with Darrell some. He works with a lot of CEOs. So it's a fairly common problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
No, this is great. As you know, time flies when you're having fun. So, we're pretty much at 9:00, but want to take a quick 2 minutes. One, I want to just play the Power Breakfast video just in case people can't tune in late. Terry's going to be the featured guest speaker at our Power Breakfast on October 27th. But also, Terry, if you can take a minute while we're doing that to think about, what are 3 things that everybody should take away from what we discussed tonight?
3 things? Okay.
Things. Because most people can't focus on more than 3 things at a time anyways. So this will sort of help them to take away and, act on what we're talking about tonight. So we'll be back in a second and hear from Terry on that. Are you an entrepreneur or business owner? If so, you need to check out the Power Breakfast. The Power Breakfast is New Jersey's premier business networking event for entrepreneurs. The Power Breakfast is a unique forum for learning best practices, enjoying great networking, and gaining useful knowledge. Over the past 10 years, we have hosted more than 1,500 attendees who have directly benefited with revenue growth and financing. Join me at the next Power Breakfast event on October 27th at the Glen Ridge Country Club. The featured guest speaker is Terry Trayvick, who will be talking about creating the ultimate business strategy.
At one point in my life, I was the global president for a financial services company. And in 3 years, we improved our profits by over $80 million. And then as a consultant, there's an example of a company I helped in Texas that was about an $8 million company 10 years ago. And organically, I've shown them and helped lead them to grow from an $8 million company to over $200 million today.
I look forward to seeing you at the Power Breakfast on October 27th. Okay, welcome back. I'm here with Terry Trayvick, and we've been talking small business, talking about how to grow your revenues and additional revenue streams. And Terry's just going to share 3 things that we can take away from what we discussed tonight and put to work immediately to help to move our business forward in a good way.
All right. Well, Andrew, what comes to mind to me is, before you can even thinking about growing your revenues, make sure that the core business is fixed. Make sure it's running well. Make sure you plug up the leaky holes in the bucket, and that you have a good operation so that you can retain the customers you already have. Number 2 is determine your growth path. As I said earlier, simply stated, you can take more products or take your current product to more people, or you can take your current customer base and offer them more products. That's the simple way of thinking about it. So figure out which path you want to take. It's hard to do both of those at the same time because you have limited resources. So choose a path and stick to it. And then third, companies compete on a number of different things. So determine the thing that you want to compete on to distinguish yourself versus the competition and be the very best at that as you can.
Okay, outstanding. So really, you got to work on your business before you can scale your business. You've got to be focused on how you're going to grow, and how are you going to be better than others. So very valuable advice. Obviously, you've shown how it can work successfully, and that's really about what we're talking about: helping people to be better leaders, learning best practices. So greatly appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to hang out with us tonight and share your knowledge.
All right. Well, my pleasure, Andrew. And hopefully I'll see you guys in a few weeks.
Okay. Excellent. So hang on for a second. I'm going to close things out and we'll take it from there. So, once again, thanks again for tuning in. Definitely was great to hang out with Terry and really talk about some things that are very important for entrepreneurs and business owners to really understand. So hopefully you got a lot out of it. I definitely did too. And, really, each week we have a great topic, a great guest. Next week, what we're going to be talking about is creating sustainable change. Our guest is Brad Eisenhuth, and he's his business focuses on helping people outperform. One challenge is, most change management, most times organizations seek to change. It's unsuccessful, not just even for small business, but even the largest businesses. Many times when they look to make changes, it's not successful. So it's not an easy thing to do. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to do that successfully. So definitely feel free to tune in to us next week for that. And, really, as we continue to go on, more important is, at the end of the day, the more that you know, the faster and more successfully your business will grow. Thanks again, and look forward to catching you next week.
Thank you for listening to Leadership Live at 8:05, Talking Small Business. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and to the podcast on your favorite podcast platform. Leadership Live is one of the many valuable resources provided through the Small Business Pro University, empowering business owners to learn, profit, and grow. Find out more at sbpro.u.com.